Catfish two wolf demons by pretending to be a sexy, juicy peach. After we teach them a lesson for picking up strange peaches in the forest, we travel through the Black Wind Mountain, looking for clues as to where the six senses of the great sage could be hidden. We have no idea what they look like or where they could be, but we have a hunch that retracing the steps of Wukong on his journey to the west could lead us to some clues. Just so you have a better idea of what's going on in this chapter, we're going to give you a quick summary of what happened on Black Wind Mountain 500 years ago in Journey to the West.
Wukong and his master Tripitaka arrived at Black Wind Mountain early on in the story and was invited into a Buddhist temple by Elder Jinchi, who showed them his collection of fabulous monk robes. Wukong then bragged about his master's robe, given to him by a real Buddha, and showed it to Master Jinchi. Seeing how exquisite it was, Elder Jinchi was overcome by greed and wanted it for himself. One of his disciples came up with the idea of burning Wukong and his master alive, so they can take the robe for themselves. The plan backfired, as the fire grew out of control and nearly devoured the entire place. Wukong shielded his master from the fire, and they left unscathed. During all the chaos, a black bear demon stole the exquisite robe, as he also collected them. Wukong then went to Guanyin for help in defeating the demon. Guanyin obliged. He defeated the black bear demon and even took him on as a disciple, thus closing the chapter on trials number 10 and 11 out of 81 in Journey to the West.
Now back to the game. As we defeat the two wolf demons, we hear a voice talk to us.
No matter how many times you come around, you're still as mischievous as ever, eh?
Maybe it's a ghost, maybe it's Maybelline, who knows? Anyway, it's hinted here that this voice knows us, and it's not the first time we've been here. It makes you wonder how many destined ones have gone on the same path as us, and what happened to them in the end. Given that reincarnation is a big thing in this world, I would not be surprised that we've reincarnated several times already. So after we pick a fight with a Yao Guai way out of our league, Mr. Potato Head saves the day by immobilizing the demon using a spell, which he teaches to us. It turns out he was the one talking to us in the forest. He's a god known as Tudi Gong, meaning he's the lord of land or earth in this place, and although his title sounds powerful, he's really a low-tier god in the celestial hierarchy. He is not extremely powerful himself, but his knowledge of everything that's going on in his land could prove invaluable, as it has several times during Wukong's journey to the west. We learned that there was once a bustling temple dedicated to the Bodhisattva Guanyin, who is a powerful disciple of the Buddha Rulai. Wukong sought out Guanyin for help several times in Journey to the West, which Guanyin played a big role in. He then mentions that the bustling temple was burned down, along with many of its disciples. Although the temple was later rebuilt, it has never been the same since. We don't know who rebuilt the temple yet, but we will find out. As we Naruto run through the mountains some more, we notice that the place is overrun by wolf demons, who mention that their leader is Ling Shuzi. Now this is curious because in Journey to the West, Ling Shuzi was a wolf Yaoguai that was killed by Wukong. He was invited to this mountain by a black bear Yaoguai for a birthday party and to see the exquisite monk robe that the bear recently acquired. Lady Luck was really not on his side that day when he crossed paths with an angry Wukong who killed him with a swing of his cudgel. As we are transformed into a cicada by Tudi Gong, we travel through the forest undetected by the Yaoguai patrolling this place. You'll want to avoid this big bald guy for now, unless you have a lot of time on your hands. He is actually a key character in our story, which we will get to later. The first boss we encounter is Guangji, who appeared in Journey to the West as a disciple of Elder Jinchi, who came up with the idea of killing Wukong and his master. Hence, all the fire attacks. After we defeat him, we gain the ability to temporarily transform into him. Honestly, this game could be renamed Black Myth Guangji, for all the times he saved my pink butt in a boss fight. We're talking no HP, no mana, no girlfriend. Just this firewolf Chad and his burn damage. Jokes aside, he did pay dearly for his plot to kill Wukong and Tripitaka. After defeating him, you can read more about his past in the Journal of Yao Guai, where we learn that ever since Guangji was just a pup, he had always wanted to be a human. In order to teach him how to act more like a human, his wolf lord Ling Shuzi sent him to live with Elder Jinchi. He was making good progress until the fateful night when it all came crashing down in flames, and the place he had called home was destroyed, along with his human teacher and wolf lord. He felt it was all his fault. He then took off his monk robe and human face and spent his remaining time repenting in the forest, where someone is always calling his name. Once you've leveled up a bit, you can fight the big bald guy we mentioned earlier. After you defeat the Wandering Wight, you find out that this is in fact the spirit of Elder Jinchi, whose physical body is actually in a hidden location. After the plot to kill Tripitaka failed, the robe he wanted disappeared and his temple was left in ruins by a fire he helped start. He could not handle the shame and loss after Wukong outed his crime, so he took his own life by ramming his head into a wall. If you look closely, you can see that there are blood streak-like markings on him, and his signature move is to ram forward with his head. The Black Bear Yao Guai returned to this mountain after he left his service with Guan Yin, and he tried to bring Elder Jinchi back to life since they were actually good friends. The truth was, the Black Bear Yao Guai tried to save the temple the night of the fire, but seeing Tripitaka's exquisite kasaya, he decided to take the robe for himself and let the temple burn down instead. During the resurrection, Elder Jinchi's spirit was so greedy that instead of going back to his human body, his soul went inside a pile of gold and silver coins he had stashed away, giving him the form he has now. If I could sum up this chapter in one word, it would be desire. An overwhelming amount of it. Although Elder Jinchi pretended to be an enlightened monk that had cut his ties with worldly desires, it was all for show. He only cultivated what's on the surface and not what's inside. His need to wear the most prestigious monk robes was a way to show others how enlightened he was, when deep down he harbored more greed and worldly desires than anyone else. After several wrong turns and going back to where we started 10 times because maps have not been invented yet, we come face to face with a giant wolf Yao Guai. We see that this is the leader of the wolf Yao Guai, Ling Shuzi. After defeating him, we find out in the journal that this is not the original Ling Shuzi from the novel. This was a gray wolf Yao Guai from the land of Shituo, who along with his pack wandered to this mountain after their homeland was destroyed. The Black Bear Yao Guai had resurrected the original Ling Shuzi along with Elder Jinchi, but after the old wolf lord realized that he would need to feed on his own kind in order to stay alive, he decided to leave rather than to continue harming his people. So the Black Bear looked for a replacement to lead the wolves. He thought the newly arrived Grey Wolf Yao Guai would be perfect, since he was powerful and in his prime. The Black Bear Yao Guai even named him after the old Wolf Lord, thinking it will help him rule the wolves. The followers of the old Ling Shuzi were not happy with their new lord and wanted to overthrow him. However, their plan was discovered, and if Guangzhou had not intervened, all of the old Wolf Lord's followers would have been killed. An uneasy truth settled between the two sides, which has lasted until now, thus explaining why the wolf patrols mentioned Ling Shuzi even though he had been killed by Wukong over 500 years ago. As we explore the mountains some more, we meet a horse Yao Guai inside a cave, who looks like he's not safe for work. But he's actually a pretty good guy, as he warns us not to believe in the Black Bear King's promises of cheating death and great riches. He says the Black Bear preaches divine teachings while harboring only greed in his heart, which is the exact same thing that Elder Jinchi did, so it's no wonder they were good friends. The horse Yao Guai seems to be on a mission as well, which we will undoubtedly learn more about later on. We then meet an old Asian man calmly painting in a forest filled with powerful demons and regular demons. My years of gaming tells me he isn't a normal NPC selling herbs. He asks us if we've seen the souls of those who aren't able to pass on. He then takes our wine gourd and says it's not special enough. Just as we're about to fight him to the death like a desperate alcoholic, he puts a spell on the gourd and says we can now collect the souls of the Yao Guai we defeat. With it, we can use their powers. Okay, so he's trying to help us. He then bids us farewell and promises we'll meet again. Now for those of you who don't know, this is actually a character from Journey to the West named Yuan Shoucheng. He was a mortal that made extremely accurate predictions about the future. And in the novel, he famously made a bet with the Dragon King of the Jing River regarding the time, location, and amount of a rainfall. The Dragon King thought for sure he would win since he controlled the rainfall in that region. However, a messenger from the Jade Emperor ordered the Dragon King to administer the same amount of rain and in the same location and time as predicted by Yuan Shoucheng. The Dragon King did not want to lose his bet to a mere human, but he did not want to disobey the Jade Emperor either, so he reduced the amount of rainfall by a small amount and started at a slightly different time. The Dragon King gloated that he had won the bet, but the old man said he would lose his head for this. And indeed, the Jade Emperor did sentence the Dragon King to death for disobeying him. The cascade of events that followed led to the Buddhist monk Tripitaka being called upon and sent on the journey to the west. The fact that such a powerful fortune teller is helping us on our quest tells us that something big is about to unfold. After we leave the old man, we stumble upon another cutscene. This time, we meet Guangmo, the other significant disciple of Elder Jinchi. Although Guangji was the one who suggested they kill Wukong and his master, it was Guangmo who suggested that they start a fire in order to make it look like an accident. He was a disciple sent by the old snake Yaoguai master to act as a spy and to curry favors with the Black Bear King, as they thought Guangzhi was sent by the old Wolf Lord to do the same. So as you can see, the mountain has different factions all fighting for power, with the Black Bear at the top of the food chain. This also explains why the mountain is overrun by Wolf and Snake Yaoguai. During his time at the temple, Guangmo was extremely jealous of the fact that Elder Jinchi always seemed to favor Guangzhi more. No matter how hard he tried, people didn't seem to like him. The reason, as Elder Jinchi explained, was that Guangmo was too extreme and uncompromising in his ways. So when Guangmo saw how much Elder Jinchi lusted after the Kasaya, he felt a surge of anger. Perhaps it was because he saw the hypocrisy in Elder Jinchi, who acted as though he was enlightened when his own desires were so extreme that he was willing to kill for a piece of cloth. Guangmo suggested they start a fire, and he made sure it would get out of control, as he blew a wind to spread the fire further and faster than intended. After we defeat Guangmo, we finally see what's left of Elder Jinchi's temple, where we come face to face with the leader of the Snake Yaoguai. Now this is not the original Snake Yaoguai master from the novel, who was also killed by Wukong because he was a friend of the Black Bear King. The white-clad noble is a replacement that the Black Bear found to rule the Snake Yaoguai of this mountain. I guess he wasn't good enough friends with the old Snake Lord to bring him back to life. After we defeat the white-clad noble, he reveals to us that he was just a spy, sent by someone to keep an eye on the Black Bear Yaoguai. He then leaves in a flurry of dust, but he is likely still alive. Now the plot thickens, as we wonder who had sent him, and why do they need to keep an eye on the Black Bear? As we cross a watery path, we see a group of wolf guai surrounding the body of a gray wolf who had hung himself. After we defeat all the wolves, we realize that this was the old Ling Shuzi, the one who was resurrected and then disappeared. In the end, he chose to die rather than to feed on his own kind. Perhaps out of everyone on the mountain, Buddhist or monk elder, he was the one closest to reaching enlightenment. After you ring all 3 bells around the mountain, you have successfully awakened all the bad mojo of this mountain. Congrats. The door to the temple opens and you finally meet the physical body of the revived Elder Jinchi. He clearly cannot let go of the past and is still obsessed with obtaining Tripitaka's Kasaya.
Finally then the 3 bells sang. Disciples come, I hear travelers approaching my temple carrying new treasures. I cannot see you, but I recognize your odor.
Jinchi can no longer see, which is a symbolism of him being blinded by greed. Not only is his own soul trapped here by his worldly desires, the souls of his disciples also cannot move on. Before he dies once more, he begs his disciples to forget the Kasaya.
No, stop. Leave it. Just leave it. Stop the fire.
Maybe in the very end he realized that his obsession over material things was pointless, but it was all too late for him. Sadly, he along with his temple and disciples were as much engulfed by his greed as they were by the fire. As we finally face off against the Black Wind King, aka the Black Bear Guai, we see that he has taken on the form of a Buddhist monk. This is not surprising since the Bodhisattva Guanyin had taken him on as a disciple over 500 years ago, when Sun Wukong and Tripitaka first came by this mountain on their journey. Wukong would have killed the Black Bear Guai for stealing his master's Kasaya, but was asked by Guanyin to spare him. However, it seems that Buddhist teachings did little to extinguish the bear's obsessive desires. If you transform into Guangzhi during this battle, the Black Wind King will tell you that you failed in your duty to guard the bells for your master Elder Jinchi. He boasts that the lost souls of the monks were put to rest by him, when in truth all he did was seal them away inside the temple. After bringing a deranged Elder Jinchi back to life, he trapped the elder inside the temple as well. In Buddhism, the ringing of a bell symbolizes transcendence, a release from worldly attachments, and is often used by monks to help souls move on to the afterlife. Yet, the Black Bear Guai placed 3 bells around the mountain and forbade anyone from touching them, thus twisting their purpose. So instead of setting the souls free, he trapped them on this mountain, binding them in a cycle of torment, all to fulfill his own obsession with bringing things back to the way they were. In many ways, the downfall of his friends was his own doing, as he helped cultivate the greed in Jinchi's heart. Also, if he had helped extinguish the fire that night instead of stealing the Kasaya, perhaps his old friends would not have met such tragic ends. After we defeat the Black Wind King, he escapes to the top of the mountain, where we encounter him in his true form as the Black Bear Guai. A few rounds of Black Bear booty bashing later, we finally obtain the first relic, Craving Eyes, which is also known as Yan Kan Shi in Chinese. The literal translation is eyes see-like, which ties into how we can greed for things we see and like. The Black Bear begs for mercy, stating that he couldn't figure out how to use the relic and didn't even want it in the first place. Although he lived and studied with Guanyin for a significant amount of time, the truth is, the Black Bear Guai has very limited potential to reach enlightenment. His greatest aspiration in life is to be the king of this mountain and to enjoy collecting treasures. Greed and other worldly desires are carved into the core of his being, so much so that the Black Bear literally represents greed for Elder Jinchi in the animation scenes. It may be nearly impossible for him to achieve true enlightenment. He tried to bring back his old friends only to have them walk the earth as wretched souls. He rebuilt the temple, but there are no true disciples in them. A text in his journal emphasizes this fact, 下士有之，不如碌碌庸人, which is translated as a fool with ambition is worse than a nobody. Meaning someone without the skills and talents necessary should not seek to accomplish a task outside of their abilities, as it could do more harm than good. The Black Bear himself was fully aware of his own limitations. In his journal, you can read about a scene where he was hesitant to accept a mission from Guanyin, stating that his abilities were too mediocre to handle such an important task. The mission is hinted to be related to the capture and downfall of Sun Wukong 500 years ago. Even when handed a powerful artifact, he couldn't figure out how to use it. The best he could do was to put it up in a tower where minor Yao Guai may pay him to see it. As much as he is a symbol of greed in this story, his desires can also be childishly simple. In the Black Bear Guai's journal, it says that he tried to give a dragon princess a beautiful sugar sculpture as a gift. It's basically a fancy lollipop. Of course, a celestial being would never see this as a suitable gift. But the Black Bear was almost childish in his innocence to think that everyone would enjoy the same simple pleasures he did. And although poorly executed, the fact that he tried to bring his friends back to life and undo all the devastation on the temple also indicates that he is not completely evil in nature. Like with so many Yao Guai in this game, you will realize that not everything is black and white. There are things you will hate about them, and there are things you will like about them. And sometimes you will feel like the bad guy for killing everybody and everything to reach your goals. Sometimes. Although greed comes up a lot, it is just a manifestation of the overall theme for this chapter, which is Jinian. It can be translated as an obsession or persistent attachment and refers to a deep, often irrational attachment to a particular idea, belief, or desire which one finds difficult to let go of. This is the opposite of the state of emptiness that Buddhists and those seeking enlightenment strive for. Like Jinian, fire is also an element that wove its way through this entire chapter. In Buddhism, greed is known as one of the three poisons, with the other two being hatred and delusion. But the three poisons go by another name, known as the three fires, which are responsible for most of our personal problems. And like fire, greed consumes and destroys everything in its path. One question for you to think about is why Guanyin would give the relic to a mediocre Yao Guai. Was she perhaps trying to help us on our mission by making it easier to take the relic? Or did she only do it to help the Buddhas gain an advantage over the Jade Emperor, whom we hate with a passion? It seems that Guanyin's actions could be seen as good or bad from our point of view. It all depends on how we think of her. These questions bring to mind a scene from Journey to the West.
Guanyin had transformed into Ling Shusu in order to trick the Black Bear Guai and help Wukong defeat him. Wukong, seeing this transformation, jokingly said, "Are you a Bodhisattva Yao Guai or a Yao Guai Bodhisattva?" To which Guanyin replied, "The difference between a Buddha and Yao Guai is in a single thought. 菩萨要精，总是一念."
Meaning Guanyin believes that both Yao Guai and Buddha have the potential to be good or bad, and the difference between them can be boiled down to a single thought or action. Something to keep in mind for later chapters as we meet more characters. And that wraps up Chapter 1 of Black Myth Wukong. There are some side characters such as the Frog Guai and dragons that we will talk about in a separate video since there's a lot of backstory to explain.